Greetings and salutations to the 310 tribe, wherever you may be tonight. Welcome to another approaching midnight. And if you can give me a thumbs up, so you guys, I can know you're seeing me and hearing me. And I'll just start going down the list here. Catalan Asset Ministries, Lisa, Coco. And Lisa, I got your question. I will definitely reach out and ask the party to see if he is interested. He might be. I mean, I think he'd be down for it, but we'll see. Barbara, Kelly Schultz, Catherine, Debbie, Pamela, We Fly Soon, Debbie R.O. Welcome, guys. And let's see if I'm getting any thumbs up here. All right. Yep, getting them. Well, hey, tonight, before we get started, I just want to do some administrative stuff real quick. And first and foremost, my daughter is in the chat somewhere, Chloe. She's got my login on there. So, hey, Chloe. And then my happy Mother's Day to the moms. And so to my mom out there, happy Mother's Day. To my wife, and being a mother to 5 kids, happy Mother's Day. She does a wonderful job. And for all you mothers out there, you guys have no idea how powerful and impactful your roles have been throughout human history, changing the course of human history. So definitely blessed with the mothers. So thank you for what you do. And thank you for all of those who stepped up to the role to be a mother, to step into that position if you had to do that. So we thank you guys for that. All right. Tonight we've got Lance and Lauren. I keep wanting to say Lance and Sharon. It's Lance and Lauren. You guys know Lauren from Certainty for Uncertain Times, where her husband has a ministry too called Joyfully Fit. And I'm going to bring him on here in just a second to talk to us about that. Well, we've been going through the spies, or you can call it pies, or whatever acronym you want to look at. But we looked at the spiritual, the physical, the intellectual, and the emotional. Tonight we're going to focus a little bit on the physical. And before we get started, I want to really kind of hone in on what all of this is about. So, what is all the spies? The spiritual, physical, intellectual, emotional. This is about really, it's about resiliency and creating resiliency within our community. And I don't care if you're 10 years old or if you're 90 years old. Some of these things you're going to be able to do just in your own house and in your own time, and it's going to really focused on making you battle ready, and you're out there, you're doing what God's called you to do, that you have the energy, the strength, the clear mind, clear heart, clear conscience to move forward boldly. So that's really what these Saturday nights are about. And with that said, I want to read real quick. It's 1 Corinthians 6:19. Or do you not know, and this will be through 20, do you not know that your body is the temple of the Holy Spirit who is in you, and whom you have from God, and you are not your own? For you were bought at a price. Therefore glorify God in your body and in your spirit, which are God's. All right. Well, welcome, Lance and Lauren. There, I said it right. How are you guys
Lance
tonight?
and Sharon.
Lance, yeah, all right. And then the
Nice.
Karen and the Sharon. So I keep wanting to say Sharon.
That's
So I
funny.
grew up with people called Lance and Sharon, so I just keep wanting to say that. So how are y'all?
Doing great, man.
Good.
Thanks for
Good.
having us on.
Yeah.
Excited
Yeah.
to be
Thanks
Yeah,
here.
so much for having us, Pete. We love it. It's always a pleasure to be on your show. And then it's kind of cool that everybody gets to meet Lance, actually. So I talk about
yeah,
him enough on videos. It's cool. People get to meet him.
yeah. I saw his when I started thinking about all this. I somehow I came across Lance's post on Facebook, and I read through it, and I was like, dude, that is so spot on. That is so. I kept just like, yep, 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 agree with that. And being 50, as much as I hate to admit it, I mean, you kind of. I chose the picture for this live stream tonight with the city. It's kind of dystopic looking, and it's like just overgrown. That picture is meant to represent those things in our life that we ignore. We begin to ignore things, and Mother Nature takes over, and the next thing you know, you put on the 50 pounds, or you're having heart issues, or whatever the case is, emotional issues, relationship issues. So those places in our lives that we choose to ignore, or we don't want to talk about or deal with, that's the place that starts the rot starts to happen the fastest. So, with that said, Lance, take it away. Please tell us about your ministry, about your passion. I want to hear all about Joyfully Fit and capture some of that same sentiment that you did on Facebook, because I thought that was perfect.
I will do my absolute best to do that. So, very first thing I always like to let people know too, I get nervous on this stuff, so bear with me if I'm less eloquent and articulate than what I prefer to be or what you would prefer me to be as well. So, thank you. So yeah, my journey actually started a good 24 years ago, where I really battled a lot of confidence issues, and I knew that God gave me a brain and gave me emotional intelligence, but I was battling so much anxiety, and so much. I mean, just to call it what it is, I was battling like low self worth, low self confidence. And when you're starting from that position, you end up making bad decisions because those decisions are in alignment with how you perceive yourself to be. And so for me, it was just a series of I see myself as nothing like what the Bible talks about, more than a conqueror, all of this. And so I would bring that into every social situation, every decision that I made, because I was not healthy, I was not fit, not on a physical level, barely on a spiritual level at the time. And really for me, where everything started changing was I realized that if I started working on this inside and started actually transforming how I perceived myself, along with making myself healthier, stronger, etc., then my perception was that it was going to lead to more confidence, better decisions, and where I was truly embodying what the Bible says, that I was more than a conqueror, that I can do these things, whatever obstacle that I would face. And so for me, it really started where I decided to get myself fit, and I really just focused on everything externally. And so I worked on the nutrition and all the physiology things, and it wasn't until years later where I realized that, hey, if you're using all external focuses to get yourself fit, basically you're going to require a lot of discipline, a lot of willpower to do these things. And I mean, we were together in high school, and she probably can remember. I mean, I'm choking down protein, holding my nose, I was so committed to the outcome, but I didn't have a good way of doing things. And so where I'm going with this is that over the years, even my first 4 to 5, 6 years as a personal trainer, I was doing everything through sheer grit. And I noticed that my clients were also. And so I started realizing, and this is where this is coming from, is that as you call this a ministry, for me, I didn't realize it was a ministry. I thought that I was trying to fix myself so I can, help people to feel better about themselves physiologically. And it ended up leading to so many, more or less like counseling sessions where I was ministering to them and I was praying over them, and little by little there was an internal transformation. And finally, as we were doing all of this the rigid way, the outside in way, the external way, I started realizing over the years that doesn't align with the Word of God the way that He teaches. And so hopefully I can kind of encompass this well enough, but the way that I see this is, how some people essentially will try to do the right things. I'm not gonna cuss, I'm not gonna drink, I'm gonna do all these good things, and they try and clean themselves up before coming to the Lord. Well, that was kind of how I was doing things with fitness and teaching my clients. So it's like, do your best, use sheer willpower, and and avoid these things, and don't do that because it's bad. And when you end up doing it, you end up having this perception that you're backsliding. And so I was living this nonstop backslide, go forward life. And so were my clients. And so about 10 or 11 years ago, there were a lot of things that kind of hit the fan. But it ended up leading to me learning how to actually teach. Well, I had to learn myself, but how to have a transformation that started internally, the same way that we do with the Lord. And so essentially what I kind of figured out over the years, and I should say the Holy Spirit showed me this, is that everything really starts on the inside. And so what I realized is if I can help people see that they had an identity problem, they had an alignment problem, they had a perception problem, if I help them to start by going, you know what, I'm not living this life to the full, let's say the full spectrum that God called me to be. And it's more than just my aesthetic. Like, let's be honest. Yes, you hired me as a trainer, as a coach for your aesthetic, But ultimately, there's bigger pains than that were going on. And when I finally realized how to tap into that and to help people to see, hey, look, when your aesthetic is off and your confidence is off, you don't have the energy to be with your kids. You're overthinking whenever you're like it's family photo time and you're figuring out a way to cut yourself out of it. And whenever there's meetings at church or there's meetings at your work, you're just hiding out. And so many of my clients and myself were living that life of just blend in and hide out. And so ultimately, what ended up occurring is I started helping people, including myself, to start actually seeing like, okay, what does the Lord call me to do and to be? And if I begin to work on that self image, that identity, if I become, it's the be, do, have scenario, if I become this person, what does that person do? Well, this person works out not just to lose weight. That's a temporary thing that people do whenever they just yo-yo everything. But what is a person who's committed? What do they do when they're serious? When they go, no, I'm a leader. I've got to lead my family. I've got to lead my community. I've got to lead my church. I've got to lead my company.
Come on.
That sort of person is not just about the six-pack abs or building up biceps. It's totally different. Yeah, those things might exist where you want them, but everything in fitness, true fitness, I don't mean just physiology, but true fitness is going to be fitness or overall well-being of the mind, the body, the spirit, the soul. And that is ultimately what it comes down to. So that's where my ministry comes to now, where I help people not to just work on the outside, is I teach them that the outside is the byproduct of changing the inside. And when we do it right, not only are you going to have the six-pack and you're going to be ripped and all those fun things that everybody wants, but now you're operating in a place of true leadership and you're showing up for your family and you're representing the Lord. For me, David, Samson, like these people I look up to. They made plenty of errors, as have I, but they had that warrior poet balance, and that's what I long for. That's what I do. So hopefully that makes sense. I can try and make it clear. If not,
Hey, I think that'll preach.
We'll see. We'll see.
I think
No,
that'll
that's
preach.
good. Now you're mostly targeting. You're looking at men, right? Or do you have a program set up or done for men?
Yeah, so over the last 20 years, probably 80% of the people that I've worked with have been women. Over this last year, as this started becoming more of a ministry on my heart, which actually about 3 years ago, I told her at like midnight, oh, the Lord showed me all how to do all this stuff with like marketing, how I'm supposed to do this. And I didn't realize then that it was leading into, he wanted me to work specifically with men so that I can be that leader for them. So I still have programs for women. I just don't coach women like what I used to. And so ultimately it's working really well so far.
Yeah. Well, one of the biggest, and I didn't know this until just the last few months. I've been really digging into this stuff. There is such a crisis of confidence of men in America that
Oh.
on top of all the gender confusion, I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
even before that, I mean, I'm just talking general culture. There's been this crisis, and men are they're being conditioned to well, I'm trying to think of the word take off your shell, but like to take that off, take your masculinity off and hide it over there because it's toxic and it's bad.
Hmm.
Yeah,
And
feminism has
it,
greatly contributed to that, unfortunately. I mean, it
Feminism
really
has
has.
bled into the
yeah.
church,
Yeah.
big C
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
church.
especially in the church. Oh my gosh, it is. I mean, there are so many milk toast beta boys in the church these days that
Yep,
are in leadership
100%.
positions that I'm just like, man, like no wonder everybody looks at us like we have, that we were kind of a post church culture. We are, but like, I mean, you don't have to go around and say, wear your what are those pants, the corduroy pants, and you're like your hipster
Skinny jeans.
pants and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, I don't know. It's just we've gotten this weird image now within Christianity that that's what masculinity is. No, no, masculinity is something that God ingrained inside of each man as He did with a woman. And we're supposed to complement each other. And a man is supposed to take a leadership position. And honestly, I struggled with self confidence because I had my father was largely not there, and then from 13 on 12 on he really wasn't there in person. So I didn't really have any strong role models to look at in terms of what is a man
Mm.
supposed to do in this situation. So I don't know. You've been in this longer than I have in terms of paying attention to what men are struggling with. Am I off on that? I mean, I see it as a crisis.
No, I mean it is 100%. And the thing of it is I cannot say that I had an absentee father. I was blessed enough to not have an absentee father, but I suffered from absenteeism from my father. And I'll explain. It's because of, once again, we can, whether we can blame feminism and whatnot, but we can also, bring in, both of my parents were young and got divorced when I was 2.5, 3 years old. And it immediately brought in distance and divide between the family. And so from the time that I was a little boy, and again, my mom did an amazing job with us. But if you look into and study, all of this stuff as far as like what boys and girls both need, they need both parents, but they need a father. And I only got to see my dad basically 2 times a month all the way until I was 16 years old. That was it. So I was being raised by my mom, and so it was great for emotional intelligence, understanding how to communicate and things like that. And she did an amazing job, getting me to understand that there are no man and female roles within a marriage and how to support my wife. Where we didn't get well was that I did not see a masculine role model demonstrated for me but twice a month. And my dad would always say this, number one, he was not saved at the time. And number two, he's like, I only get to see you guys 2 times a week or 2 times a month for a weekend. He's like, it was very difficult to create or to establish that role model boundaries and to correct you guys as often as I needed to, because you barely get to see your kids. And so we got discipline from my mom, and then we got, basically to do what we wanted with my dad. And ultimately, we didn't have a role model to learn how to be a man. I learned a lot through, obviously, as the Holy Spirit got a hold of me, but a lot of it for me, I had to read books on like, why do I not feel normal? So speaking for myself, that's ultimately whenever I was helping out men back in the day in gyms, there was a lot of guys in their 20s coming up to me going, man, I still don't feel like a man. Maybe if I had more muscle, I would. And I'm like, you're going to feel a little bit better about what you see in the mirror. But if you don't feel like a man, muscle's not going to solve that. I've been 245 pounds of straight muscle at times, and it didn't take away the feeling of not being adequate, of not being a man and feeling like, man, am I ever going to feel no longer like a little boy? It wasn't until the last multiple years of God, just opening up everything. And I had a lot of wounds that needed to be healed. So in my perspective, it is 100%, an epidemic, that we've got to, focus on for men. And men are ignored, widely, in my opinion, my perspective, at least.
Yeah. What about you, Lauren? Do you see the same thing, or where do you see the crisis at in terms of at least the gender roles in the family in terms of is it because Xbox was invented and men have just become lazy couch potatoes and all we want to do is play video games all day long and that's the real culprit, or what is it?
No, it's not. And I mean, I say this as a woman, but I do think that the culture has really morphed a lot of how men are viewed. It's really sickening and disgusting to me, honestly, how men are viewed these days, and how there are women out there who are like, I don't need a man. I don't this, I don't that. Okay, fine. When your car breaks down on the side of the road and you got to change 4 tires with yourself, let me know if you would like a man to help you, because that, like, it's just, those things upset me because, again, it doesn't matter how we were brought up or whatnot. The bottom line is that the Lord instilled certain things in a man, and the Lord instilled certain things in a woman, and those things are getting very discombobulated in our society these days, and it's really upsetting. And then, of course, then you have kids growing up in those types of that atmosphere, and then they don't even understand how proper marriage should work. We've had to learn.
We struggled that immensely.
Like, we've had to learn a lot the hard way.
Role models.
No, not at all. I mean, my parents were married and everything and stayed married, so I didn't go through divorce. But at the same time, it's one of those things where, like, you learn. We got married very young, so we dated at 15, got married at 18. So we've seen adolescence to now we're getting old. We've seen all the phases of life together. But the point is that it's been a lot of hard knocks. Now, the thing is that, Pete, we've talked about this on several shows together. If we also had more pastors stepping up in the pulpit, teaching how things are supposed to be, we wouldn't have the problems that we have, because a lot of things that that Lance and I've had to learn school of hard knocks is because we didn't sit under pastors who were in the pulpit doing what they needed to be doing and discipling their congregations and, discipling godly men and discipling godly women. And so then unfortunately we're left to the culture and you start to conform. So,
Yeah. Yeah, that was the heaviest part there. Unfortunately, the later part of my 20s, I got saved at 6 years old, and when she met me in high school, I was on fire for God. And then as
I was not.
we, as my later 20s hit, I just was living in so much compromise, and it was one of those things where so much of it was stemmed in misplaced identity, and so it's an important thing. It is an absolutely important thing, especially now.
Yeah, I think in large measure that one of the big crises in the 20th century was the demasculine demas
That's
the
challenging.
emasculation of
That's
the
it.
church, largely through very liberal, progressive teaching that came in that was influenced by feminism, and that began to impact the churches, and they were very few and far between, hell and brimstone type of sermons anymore.
Right.
Those were relegated to the very small churches in the outwoods of Kentucky and Arkansas and places like that.
Yep.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a crisis, and so the church quit leading because men quit being masculine and accepting their
Yeah.
roles in society as leaders, and because we stepped out, we created a vacuum. And
I literally.
but I but to joyfully fit to back to the idea of all of those things have to be in balance. You can't have, you could have good health, good mental health, you could have a good emotional health, but your spiritual life is all messed up, then you're going to be a
Right.
mess. Same thing if your emotional health is all out of whack. So yeah, you could be my one of my close friends, that one that committed suicide and that was all tied up in my come to Jesus moment back in 2007. He was on steroids, and so it impacted his psyche, and he was such a need to have that perfect body. And I think
Yeah.
probably you probably are able to articulate this, that it's not, you want to get a healthy body, but you need to do it a healthy way, and not you know juicing up on a bunch of different kinds of chemicals, and because those
Yeah.
things mess your mind and emotions up too.
Yeah. So the big thing is that, and she can attest to this, in my 20s, that was one of the biggest things that I battled, and that's what I was alluding to, is that because of how I perceived myself as being not man
Mm.
enough, not whatever enough, that was, I chased the perfect physique forever.
Yeah.
And for me, that was one of those things. I did, take supplements and just constantly looking for things. And I can remember certain supplements where I was feeling like, I was feeling very depressed. There were so many, like, it was just an addiction. And it wasn't an addiction for the sake of itself of muscle. The addiction was, something has got to fix how I feel inside about what I see in the mirror and who I feel that I am. And so that's the whole purpose here, is that if you don't work on the inner identity, like if you're coming into fitness or wanting to get healthy, which again, we can call those both, like, my dad told me years ago, like, I wanted to be a bodybuilder and all this. And he's like, look, man, you need to understand, when Arnold Schwarzenegger says something like, look, I would literally eat horse manure if it would get me bigger. It's like, do you think that that's healthy? Do you think that that's wise? No, he's like, really think about that. That's the desperation of these men, and you're following suit. Man, that hit me. And so that for me was one of those that I realized, if I don't work on or surrender body dysmorphia to the Lord, I'm going to go down a very dark path, or continue down a dark path. And so, yeah, that's the whole thing that I would say, is that you can be fit as a fiddle. I was fitter than all get out, at 29, 30 years old, and I was miserable because the inside was in turmoil. It was chaotic because I did not have the root fixed. And so, same thing with many clients that I've worked with over the last couple of years. I've told her, like, the big issue that I'm having with this one client is they need to hear about how they are not believers yet. And that's why they have this, 7-figure business, and now they're getting fitter and they're still going, why am I not happy? Well, again, it's because of the fact that your identity is reflecting like what you, or your perceptions reflecting how you see yourself, and rather than seeing yourself as the Lord, projects. And so I would say that in this situation, it's not only a matter of you've got to fix the or allow the Lord to fix that inner part of it. You've got to make sure that when you are trying to get healthy, that you're the healthy and fit aligns with the word. Otherwise, you are out of alignment. It will lead into compromise. And then now the very road getting you fit and healthy so you can be better is now taking you off course into more self-worship or self-seeking, self-validation. It's a disaster if you don't get it all in alignment. And that's why Joyfully Fit 365 is all about that perfect alignment of mind, body, spirit, soul, so that it's like, hey, I'm not going to tell you to eat nothing but chicken and kale. That's not going to probably align with your lifestyle. Your kids are going to hate it. You might look fit, and then now you're not doing things with your kids, and we're pulling you apart from that. Everything should coalesce together when you do health and fitness the right way. It should be balanced. Easy as the, what is it? Easy as the burden, light as the yoke, or light as the burden, easy as the yoke. I get them backwards. That is the principle.
Yeah. I mean, you can see even when I came here, if you go back a few videos to back in March, you can see my face because I lose weight in my face first. Like you'll see it, like
Same here.
my mono chin goes away, and then I start to get in that, and my face starts to like trim out and all that. And I mean, I don't lift very long, maybe 30 minutes at the most. And I do really high reps, low weight, but then I just cut out bread. I did the one simple thing. I cut out bread and just really was more conscious of what I ate. So if it was
Sure.
real late at night, I'd grab fruit in the morning, leave it in the room so that I could just snack on a fruit like a banana or apple or
Right.
something. And just something healthy. And so that was it. A small change like that, and whatever changes I want to do. And I think what have and I didn't have a mentor or anything in terms of working out, but I've known guys throughout the military, and I picked up things here and there,
Sure.
um, and that's over 20 years. But you're right, though. A lot of guys are trying to find their identity in the gym and what they look like, and I think that if we can harness that need for uh, purpose, that need for identity, they want to identify with something, and they want that leadership. But leadership comes through experience of doing things, of being in charge of things when things go sideways or bad.
Yep.
But I will tell you this too, though. I will say that since I've been working out, my energy levels are up. I mean, I feel more just alive. I don't feel as
Right.
lethargic or just kind
Mhm.
of like blah. I want to be out doing stuff, and that's really the big thing for folks tonight, regardless of what physical state you're in. And you may not be able to go outside because of the weather or because of where you live. It may not be safe. Um, but you can do stuff in your house. You can do exercises in your room and the floor. You can go for walks. My mom still takes our dog for a walk. I think 2 or 3 times a week. So you don't have to do anything crazy like CrossFit or like climbing rock walls or anything like that. Or,
Right.
but do whatever that you can do safely at your age. I promise you, the one big benefit is that you're going to have more energy, and the more exercise you do, a little bit more energy, and then next thing you know, you're not just sitting around, and now you're up moving, and you're feeling a little better about the day that you're taking on. So what about
Yeah.
you, Lauren? What do you got for in terms of like the older crowd? What would you say? Do you have any recommendations for what folks can do if they're not going to the gym, or if they're not, that's not feasibly possible?
Yeah,
And
I
I'm not a
mean,
woman, so
oh, yeah. Well, and it goes for anybody. I mean, we have a few like main staples, and it's things that honestly that he's taught me over the years. I mean, I'm fit by proxy because because I'm married to him. I definitely had a fitness journey in my early 20s. After we got married, I gained about like 35 pounds within a couple of years. And for those that don't know, I'm 4'11", so I'm not very tall. And 35 pounds of extra body fat does not have a lot of places to go whenever you're that small. And so I was just constantly crying in the closet every time we had to go somewhere. I just didn't want to, I just felt awful about myself, you know, because it was just like shocking to wake up and look in the mirror and go, when did all this happen? So anyway, you know, Lance has always been so supportive. He truly does just have such emotional intelligence, but he never ever said anything about my weight or anything like that. But one day I was crying in the closet and he said, "Babe," he said, "I absolutely love you. I don't think there's anything wrong with you, but I will say this. It is not healthy for you to be sitting in the closet crying every time we have to go somewhere. And if you're really this unhappy, then you either want to do something about it or you don't." And so that was kind of the start of things. And I did. I got into very good shape in my early 20s with his help. And, you know, I've kind of just been supportive in a more of a I would say like a administrative role for your business.
Last couple of years.
Yeah, the last couple of years. But you know, there's a few staples that, you know, he teaches his clients to do. I'd rather you just share those so I don't butcher them. But there are things that we definitely do that are kind of staples.
Yeah, so I would say regardless of age, guys, here's the big takeaway, and this is why I'm trying to do my YouTube videos every day right now for the next 90 days, because I have a lot of free content I can put out that literally will change your life if you will allow it. And the cool thing is, it's not a one size fits all sort of thing where it's just like, oh, sorry, this is just what Lance told me to do, so now I've got to do burpees and up downs until the cows come home. Instead, it really is an undulating system that you balance based on where you're at. And so here's a couple of the rundowns. We call them Keystone habits. Keystone habits are going to be the foundational habits that are going to lead to the outcomes that you want. First thing is, most people set goals, and I don't have a problem with goals, but goals are usually one and done. They're short-sighted. And goal systems are what I preach, because goal systems, like for example, a goal is, I want to save $2,000 to go on a vacation. Whereas a goal system says, I'm going to start saving $300 a month to go on vacation every single year. That's a system that thinks about not just reaching the goal once, but maintaining it so you live the life you desire. That's where we start. From there, it really is simple. And this is, you jot these down. Number one is we have to focus on, and we don't want you to be obsessed with calories, but just like how you would have your check register, just like you would have with your ledger for business, you have to make sure that how much you're spending is not more than you're making. Put into fitness, you've got to make sure that your calories in are not more than you're willing to move, okay? Calories are nothing more than a currency or an energy, nothing more. It's just a measure of energy. So the first thing is, try and understand if you are active enough. Number one, I would say, and you can find, I've got a free calorie calculator all over, I believe, on my website, definitely on my YouTube channel, but you can get your calories. So number one is to figure out approximately how many calories and what your macronutrient should approximately be. From the second, once we assume that you've got that, you want to make sure that you're using resistance training 2 to 4 times a week. You don't need more. Less will do a little bit, but it's not going to do. 30 minutes is all you need. And here's one that I want you to take away. We teach good goal, great goal, awesome goal, never an all or nothing. Your good goal, starting, if you've never worked out before, your good goal should be 20 minutes or 15, but let's say 20. Your great goal is 25 minutes. Your awesome goal is 30. On the frequency of your workouts, let's say your good goal is 2 times a week, your great goal is 3, and your awesome goal is 4. Some weeks you're only going to hit your good goal on your duration or your frequency, and that needs to be okay. It's a goal system. You're going to stick with it. Same way as if you had a bad month when you're saving, like the analogy I mentioned, if you're saving for a vacation, you got 2 tires go out, you don't stop the next month putting back money for the vacation. You just know that that month, some of your vacation money had to go towards your tires. If people would treat their fitness the same way, that same logic, where you don't throw the baby out with the bathwater when one thing goes awry, that's what keeps people going. From there, the final that I would say is, make sure that you're tracking your steps. You don't need to do cardio. You don't need to do all this crazy stuff. But if you will take a look, in the 1970s and 80s, the average person was walking 20 to 30,000 steps a day. Yes, some were 10 to 15, but we're average getting 5,000 steps a day. So first thing I teach, 5,000 is your good goal, 7,500 is your great goal, and 10,000 is your awesome goal. Start there. These things alone are going to begin the process. Yes, there's more, but that alone will start your journey.
Yep. And I just shared, everyone's asking for Lance's YouTube channel. I just threw it in the chat and somebody else copied it, but definitely go follow his YouTube channel. He is live every day right now. There's so much good
And
stuff on
even if you're a
there.
woman, I still have stuff on there for
Yeah.
women. It's just that I coach men now, so you're going to hear, but everything primarily is still going to apply to both genders. That's the beautiful thing about this. It is universal outside of a couple numerical values.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. I was thinking when I was in Afghanistan or even in Iraq, we had to walk most places. So
Right.
I think we were averaging about easily 20,000 steps a day, and all we had to drink was water, except for, when you're in the dining facility. So you're pounding water all day and you're walking
Right.
a lot.
Yep.
And you're just putting away food like it's going out of style. And you're thinking, this is
You
awesome,
bet.
man. I'm not gaining any weight. And then you go back home, still eating the same amount, but now you're only walking about 3,000 steps a day. It,
Bingo.
it packs on very quick.
Yes.
So having that, I don't want to say it's an emotional intelligence, but maybe a physiological intelligence to say, okay, during this month I'm going to be here working, or the kids are at school, my gym time is that time, but when the kids are out this summer, what am I going to do? So it's like planning ahead and thinking
Right.
through, like, okay, well, this is going to be the change. The place I normally hike at is going to be closed, whatever the case is. It's just kind of thinking about that, and then saying, okay, well, I need to adjust, tweak my calories a little bit, or kind of plan things out so that you're not caught blindsided, and you're not 3 weeks into the month and now it's been a huge dynamic, something changed, kids are out or there's something, and you're just kind of playing catch up, and now you're grabbing like fast food to go, and next thing you know, you put on like 30 pounds, and now you're feeling crappy about yourself, and you're just like, and then all of those things are tied back in, they're all tied back in together. And
Definitely.
you and I know, and Lauren, that we can't, the body is not going to go to heaven. The body is, it wants to stay here and stay alive as long as possible and have as much fun as it can, because it's
Mhm.
not going, and it knows it's not going. We know we're getting that upgrade, that a mortal glorified body upgrade. So I think there's something intuitive in us to want to eat the really bad food or want to eat the whatever. But just like that saying I had a long time ago, it's not my saying, it's the military, embrace the suck. I've
Yes.
embraced certain foods, like I would just kind of start eating them every day, and even though I wasn't like crazy about them at first, over time you get used to eating them, and then that becomes a staple. And like I started eating a lot of turkey sausage, and I hate turkey sausage. I still kind of hate it, but I mean, I'm just thinking like it's protein. There's no carbs. It's. I'm not eating to live. I'm not living to eat. I'm eating to live. So it's
Sure.
just food in my stomach to stave off the hunger. So
Yeah.
uh, all right. Well, hey, I'm gonna get your links and all that, and I need to make sure I have everything, and I will put it in the description and all that for folks to follow. I will definitely be checking it out, and I've just like been more, I guess, since I got 50, and I realized that things are starting to slow doon, and I was going to share a picture the other day on Telegram, and I didn't because I was too self conscious about it, but my hair had grown out as long as it had ever been, and it was a photo of me doing a selfie in like this Civil War field. It was cool, but then I'm like, I started scrolling in on myself, and I was like, you could just see all the gray in my hair. I mean, it was like so gray, and I was like, oh my gosh, I look so old. And that's when I decided, like, I get a haircut. I got to shave it all off. So.
Oh, that's great.
I was going to say, I see a lot of people talking in the chat about different things that they're doing, struggling, people like, I just ate ice cream or ate this. One of the things I would love for Lance to hit on, actually, since there's so many people in the chat doing 150 different things, can you just talk a little bit about the fact that we don't deprive ourselves, and just for a second about that whole 80/20 concept?
Yeah.
Because I think for these people in the chat, I can see some of them are miserable with what they're doing.
Yeah,
So,
definitely. So, guys, I'll make this really, really quick too. There's a lot of times people will catch me in a restaurant, and it's always hilarious to me. They're, even our neighbor at one point like saw us ordering pizza, and he's
Papa
like,
John's.
"Oh, is that on the diet?" And I'm like, "Yes, yes, it is, in fact." And he's like, "Oh," and then and I made it awkward on purpose. Like I wanted it to be funny. I love some awkwardness if I'm the one creating it. So anyway, the point is with this is that we don't live this life of avoidance. I don't avoid carbs. I don't cut carbs. When you understand energy balance and the 80-20 rule, 80% of your calories should be whole foods, lean meats, vegetables, fruits, whole wheat tortillas, whole grain foods. I am not one of those people that are like, avoid all carbs. No, no, no. Carbs,
The
especially
brain
fibrous
needs
carbs,
carbs.
have so much value. So, a couple things that I would give you guys to take away. Number one, if you enjoy cutting out carbs because it is like you hate carbs and you could keep carbs out of your life, cut them out. If you're like me and carbs are kind of life, especially when you're hangry, it's not going to really be a sustainable practice to cut them out. And so, same with like, if you know, I love ice cream, I love cookies. It is not realistic for me to cut those things out and then to guilt myself whenever I want them or have them. So, what we teach is that 20% of your calorie intake or the foods that you take in can be more of what we call fun foods. So there's nutrient dense foods, which are that's your 80%. And then there are calorie dense foods, which are normally going to be, you know, ice cream, having maybe a glass of wine, having a real soda, cookies, whatever that might be, or white bread. You don't need to avoid it. You need a system that's going to allow you to keep in moderation so that you can enjoy those things without leading to a binge, or enjoy those things without overaging your calories, because that's ultimately what this is about. If you will think about your calories being spending too much and getting yourself in debt, it's the same premise. And the final thing that I'll say on that is that most of the time people are like, I should do this, I need to do better, oh, I should be working out. And it's all guilt and shame based. Instead, what I want people to do is to stop and take a look back and go, why? Why should you do that? Ultimately, what we're going to get to is what we call an underlying motivation. This is the driving force, or what I call the emotional fuel to your goal. Most of the time, people are trying to use willpower and discipline to do things that they should do instead of doing what I teach, which is, what is it that you want most of all? Well, Lance, I want to be healthy. I want to be fit. Yeah, but why? Well, I'm not confident. Okay, well, why does that matter? I want to be confident and feel attractive for my spouse. I want to feel confident so I'm leading my kids. I want to feel confident so that when I show up to the PTA or when I go for that promotion, I'm not feeling like I don't deserve it, or like, oh, great, they're looking at my triple chin instead of thinking I'm qualified for the job. What we start with is what it is that you want. And the second part, most important, is the why. Why is it such a must for you? What happens is, with all this stuff of, you know, I'm overwhelmed and I try to do good, what's happening is that you never decided what you wanted more than anything to get fit and why you wanted to do it for your kids, for your health, for your family. But it should be emotional enough that it gets you emotional. Like when I started my journey, it was like, gosh dang, I want my arms big. I want to feel like my shoulders are filling out my shirt instead of my belly. I'm tired of feeling just frumpy. And so for me, it was like enough to bring me to tears if I thought about staying there. Now, when you start there, then you go, okay, well, what does it take to get me out of this? Now you're willing, especially if you look at your goals and your why every day. Now you're just like, well, just like where you are, Pete, where you're just like, well, embrace the suck. Basically what you're saying is, I want to look and feel better so bad that thing that I'm doing sucks much less than the thing that I have been doing, which is just staying and letting myself get worse out of shape, less confidence, more anxiety, not to mention the fact that getting in shape is going to improve the hippocampus and decrease the amygdala so that we're not making emotional decisions. That's all from exercise and getting in shape. So anyway, I digress.
No, it's good. I wanted to mention that because, you know, and again, just so it's said, like a lot of times, like I'm a sweet tooth, y'all. If you didn't know it, like somebody can set something in front of me, and if there's a donut next to it, I'm going for the donut 100 times out of 100. But some of the things that we have done, this is recently, because again, we do the 80-20 rule. I make all of our like treats and stuff that we eat from home, from scratch, because we all know what's going on with the food. We all know the food pyramid's a lie. We all know all those things. So what I wanted to just mention is that for some of you guys, like even just changing some of the things like that, instead of buying some crappy product at the local grocery store, you actually make your own treat. You know what's in it.
And
It
it's
first of all,
usually
it
a
tastes
lot less
better.
calories and tastes better,
Yeah.
and it doesn't take that much time to do.
Yep. So I wanted to mention that too. That's been a big game changer, and it's been kind of fun because making stuff that people really love to eat. Not like I made this
Yeah.
from scratch. There's some pride that's in that, a little bit of Betty Crocker, so that's fun too. But I
Yeah.
wanted to mention
So
that. So
so embrace the suck, but don't embrace a sucky life.
yes. Yeah, we don't
Yeah.
live like that. And I think
Mm-mm.
it's always people have always like been shocked at like if we go out to dinner, we're not the people that are sitting there eating kale and bird seed
No, no,
for
no.
dinner. I'm not going to a restaurant to spend money, and y'all all know restaurants are high now. I'm not going there for me to eat some little salad and some chickpeas.
We split a pizza
No.
before this.
Yeah, we
Literally
did.
split a
Yeah,
pizza
it's been a
before
late
this.
night. We had a frozen
You
pizza
guys can
tonight.
watch some of my videos on how we eat, but I'm telling you, like, you don't have to be miserable. Once you know, oh man, I'm way over my calories. I could have more food that I want if I just knew how much I was taking in.
Mhm.
Sign me up. Or if you don't want to know, just cut out stuff, but you might be over guessing, overshooting it, you know?
Yep. And that's what's great about it. We do. We eat super clean the majority of the time. But tonight it was like, I told him, I was like, hey, we got to do this later. You cool if we just do like a pizza tonight? Yeah, that sounds good to me. And that's what we
Yeah.
did. So, and that needs to be okay. Like, guys, we still live here. We still live on this earth. Lance and I still love Taco Bell. We like to go every once in a while.
We
So,
like the idea of it. It's really gone downhill,
well, yeah,
man.
it really has.
Mm.
I've noticed what's helped me in just my own weight loss journey was the second that I get hungry. I mean, the first instant that I feel like right where I'm thinking about food, go get a thing of fruit, and I purposely this time have made it. I've kept kiwis, strawberries, banana.
Right.
So I always have something in the room to snack on. The first instance that I get hungry, or drink some water, and so essentially, I can eat because where I'm at right now, between the hotel and where I'm working, they have cafeteria there. I can kind of really closely monitor what I'm eating there because of
Right.
just the confined environment. I know when I go back home, it's going to be harder because there's breakfast tacos all over the place. And that's my
That's your
weakness.
thing.
Yeah.
Why I struggle with weight so much is breakfast tacos are uh, kind of like sin incarnate. It's just like it's pure calories. It does have some protein, but it's like pure calories, and it's so delicious. And I would eat it if that was the only food left on the planet, and that's all I had on a desert island. I would eat that every day and not complain. I would just, and that's me. That's a Texas thing, and that's I grew up Tex-Mex food, and
That's
I
I know
mean,
yeah,
not everybody
hey,
has that
Texan.
same
I know
struggle.
all about that Tex-Mex food.
mhm.
We introduced him to Tex-Mex when
Yeah,
we
that was some
met,
of
and
the
he
best
was like,
Mexican food I've
"Wow,
ever had. So,
yeah,
but that's the cool thing too, Pete, is that you can like I love like we found a bunch of recipes, every from whether it's Pinterest or wherever, find a recipe or I'll be like, hey, I really like this thing. Let's figure out how to make it more, and we don't call it healthier. We call it making it more
macro
macro friendly. What
friendly."
does that mean? It means that we're gonna it's gonna reduce the calories, and B, it's gonna shift over instead of being like 9,000 grams of fat and carbs and like 2 grams of fiber or 2 grams of fiber and protein. It switches so that it's higher protein, higher fiber, less carbs, less fat, still there. And so you could easily figure out, all right, what are the ingredients in these breakfast tacos? And if you were to say like, oh, all right, it's white tortilla, let's switch over to a wheat or a
Wheat.
corn,
Mm-hmm.
and then like, well, it's this type of meat. Okay, the meat's fine. Let's just maybe not fry it in that same oil. You can modify things, and man, I would eat breakfast tacos in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
So I can help you there for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Did y'all
People are
watch the
talking in the
video?
chat about eating steak, Pete. We love steak too.
Oh
That's
yeah,
my
Oh yeah,
right means
yeah.
my favorite.
yeah,
I had
absolutely.
a
Steak, y'all.
I had a steak last night. In fact, I bought an 8 ounce filet mignon. But
Mm.
did you watch Lee's video he did a while back on eating meat into eternity?
About in the millennium.
No, into eternity.
No, I think I saw that and I was like, I don't know if I agree.
Oh no, you got when y'all get a chance, go back and watch that video. It will blow
Okay.
your mind. And I'm the same mind. Like people are like, what? We won't need to eat in eternity. We won't need to eat. We won't need to sleep. We won't need to drink water or anything like that. But we know that we can and we will, based off of the what First John 3 says, that we'll be like Christ, and he ate like 6 different
He did.
times
He ate.
after his
Yeah.
resurrection. So I think that we'll be able to. Well, Lee makes a very strong case, but my own personal spin on all of that is that people don't like the idea of eating meat in heaven or anywhere else because they think something has to die in order for that
Yes.
meat to be provided. I can argue that God, if he can speak the universe into existence and hold every fabric and atomic, atom together just by his sheer will, he can create a taco tree, just a tree that grows tacos or steaks or whatever, whatever you want on their pizza. Boom, New York pizza just drops down. Kind of like that machine in Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs. But God
Oh,
can he can make a beautiful steak right there and have all the food and nothing died. It's just he created it. And
Yeah,
so I
I did watch that with Lee. I thought it was an interesting take, but I stand on the like we're not going to be carnivores at all. So I don't know, but if it works out the way you're saying it, I could see that. But I don't. If an animal has to die, my heart can't go there
no,
after
yeah,
everything is made new. Yeah, no.
nothing would have to die in this scenario. But
In your
all right,
scenario,
I know
I
you
like it.
guys have
well, sign me up too.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
right.
yeah, I'll play. I'll
okay.
do
I know you
that.
guys had to go. You wanted to keep it kind of short because you got to get up early. You've got a
Yes.
early shift. So I'm going to give you guys a chance to close out, say anything you want to say, and after you guys, when you guys get off, I'll do a little bit of Q&A because I got a tally going of questions that are backing up that I haven't gotten to yet. So I have
Okay.
to work down
Let's see.
my debt on
All
that.
right.
Yeah. All right.
So
Well, I mean,
floor is yours.
closure. I don't know. I would just say for everybody that is kind of watching right now, just the bottom line is start, like our motto is start small. For me, whenever I was getting into shape, Lance, what he, I don't want to say he babied me, but kind of, because whenever I first started working out, I was, barely could handle doing 5 minutes with him. I was using little 3 pound dumbbells, crying because I couldn't hardly lift them over my head. Like it was sad because I was in good shape in high school, being cheerleading and all those types of things. But I would just say start small, like start with something that is measurable for yourself. And, for me, it was working out I think 2 or 3 times a week with you for 15 minutes, and
Sweet.
then we just kind of we built from there. And again, by the way, if Lance would have said, Lauren, you can never have Dr. Pepper again, you can never eat a cookie, you can never go to Taco Bell or whatever, or have a steak, like I would have said, sorry, I'm gonna be fat and happy, like that. If somebody would have told me that, like that's how I had to live, because in my mind, to be the fit that I wanted to be, that's how I thought all of those women lived. And so for somebody to come along and show me that, like, nope, it doesn't have to be all or nothing. No, it doesn't have to be like that. It changed everything. So for us, being in shape and staying healthy, and I don't just mean physically in shape, but we're talking about spiritually healthy, mentally healthy, like everything that he does is all encompassing, and it's that way for a reason. But the reason why that matters so much is you guys all know the times that we're living in. Life don't get any easier from here. It just is, it's challenging. The closer we get to the fact that Jesus is getting ready to show up and rapture us out of here, the crazier the world gets, and the crazier life is. So for us, keeping ourselves together, right, in that physical, mental space, and the spiritual space, makes just a big impact on the way that you show up for your family, the way you show up to your career, the way you show up for your church, the way you show up for your ministry, your friendships, all of that. So that would be what I would have to say to anybody.
Yeah, I mean, basically, a lot of times, again, people kind of guilt or shame themselves. It really comes from, it's kind of the same thing of people believe that, getting saved is about cutting out things and doing everything perfectly. And ultimately, when you have that inner convergence, or that transformation, I said convergence, I mean conversion.
Conversion, yeah.
When you have that inner conversion, you do stop desiring to sin in the same way. Yes, you might have to, to work on some things, but ultimately you desire less. It's because of what you know and because of the transformation. Well, I would likely say that the same thing is with fitness, as so many people view it as a temporary thing. Oh, great, I gained weight, I've got to lose weight. My encouragement is to stop that. Get over the I need to lose weight thing and start asking yourself, is how I look and how I do things aligned with what I describe or how I would perceive myself? Am I fit, or do I look in the mirror and feel like, who is this person staring back at me? I cannot believe I've gotten here. If you're there, I've been there. But what I'm going to tell you is stop doing the I need to get back in shape, I need to blah, 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 like it's a temporary thing, and start asking, okay, well, obviously I've never been able to keep the weight off or to get in shape and stay there. What am I doing wrong? I know that I've done things that work, but I would venture to say that if you've done something that you cannot keep up with, if you're still not fit, it doesn't matter that it worked before. If it worked so well, you'd still be doing it. And so what I'm going to tell you is, to piggyback on that, is number one, Start baby steps. If you don't work out any days a week, start with 2 days a week at 10 or 15 minutes, okay? Only increase your time when you have built 2 to 3 to 4 weeks of consistency. When you've got that down and you want to just tracking your food will help you to see that, whoa, one of my clients came in and she's like, I had no clue, Lance. I was hardly getting any protein. I thought I was doing so good. Like, I eat healthy. And because you had me track my food, I see, and you put me at wanting like 110 grams of protein, I realize I'm eating like 35. No wonder I feel like trash. And I said, right, because instead of 100 grams of protein, you're having like an extra 100 grams of carbs. So it's not that carbs are the enemy. Yes, I would want you to eat low glycemic index carbs. But the point is with this is you do not have to do an all or nothing like, oh crap, I'm going to cut out all the carbs. I'm going to cut out all my sweets and, oh, I feel better when I do that. Again, you might feel better, but if it doesn't last, it's not sustainable for you. And everything that I teach is not about how to lose weight quickly or how to even lose weight. It's how to embody full health and fitness based on what the word teaches, which is alignment of these values and practices. You're not going to get it perfect, but you can get it consistent.
Come on.
And that takes baby steps. And the final thing I'll say is this is something I learned from Pastor Alan Nolan. E plus R equals O. You will have mess ups. You will fall off of whatever proverbial wagon you've put yourself on. You will choose cake when you wanted to choose egg whites at times. You will choose, a soda when you wanted to choose water. What I'm going to tell you is that the outcome, okay, is only like whatever this outcome is 90% dependent on your response to that mess up.
Come on.
You're a mess up of, oh, I had this food that I shouldn't have eaten. 90% of of your response of that is 90%, and that's what makes up 90% of your outcome. So that's where we're like, well, great, I messed up, so I may as well just blah. I may as well just eat whatever I want to the rest of the day. Or, well, I already missed 3 workouts this week, so once again, and then you turn into self-shame. Here I am, and it's beat up, beat up, beat up. Instead of doing that, you want to just simply stick to your baseline. I'm only going to do 2 10-minute workouts this week, and I'm just going to eat more fruit. Just start there. Little things, and when you build on it, only when you build on it, you can add, meaning that it's consistent. So that's what I would say. Don't beat yourself up. Choose something small based on some of the variety that we've talked about tonight. What is your low-hanging fruit? And then pursue the next low-hanging fruit up from there. Don't do the all or nothing.
Well said.
That's excellent. Thanks, guys, for coming on. I'd like
Thank
to have you
you.
back on in a
Yeah.
couple of months, and also do a follow-up and do some more on the physical, because this is tied into everything we do living in this world that we live in. I mean, all of those 4 pillars are intricately tied into our lives. And so I know for most folks tonight, it's what is it, Saturday night, it's late, everybody's kind of hunkered down for the night. Or I guess if you live in Australia, it's probably tomorrow at like 12 or something, I don't know. But it's, whenever you watch it, you're hopefully you're at home, kind of relaxed, you've done the day, and you have time to think about it tonight and think, what little things can I do tomorrow? I know it's Mother's Day, everybody wants to go out to eat. So, but start there. Start with the little things. Instead of having 5 rolls, just have 2, or
Yeah.
whatever the
Bingo.
case is.
Exactly.
And invite the Lord
So
into it. Ask the
Yes.
Holy Spirit will show you what you need to start on.
Come on.
I get convicted regularly of things that I'm like, oh man, I'm being too obtuse about this or being too rigid. And then I'm like, is this going to be sustainable? Then the Holy Spirit will show me like, you're striving again. Just relax and do just this thing. So just pray, invite the Holy Spirit in and watch what happens. It's a big, big change.
Yep. For
yeah,
sure.
yeah, and I know, just being 50, I used to never think about my health ever, or being a younger guy in the military.
Right.
Never had
Oh,
any
for
issues.
sure.
Then my eyesight started to go. I couldn't read. I was squinting at all my emails on the computer. And then one of my officers came in. He's like, "Sir, you need to get glasses. You look like Popeye right now." Because I was all squinting like this and trying to hold the laptop a certain way, so that I could look at the
You're
words
right.
and make the font bigger. He goes, "Just get some glasses. Just own it." So I finally broke down and got glasses. So, anyways, thanks
Totally.
guys for coming on tonight.
Thank
Yeah,
you
definitely. And
for
I'm gonna
having
make
us.
sure to get all the links. It'll be in the title description. We'll love you, have you back on. And Lauren, I'll see
Will do.
you on the
20
21st?
what 21st or 23rd, whatever date that is a Wednesday. If I'm hosting because your bandwidth sucks, it'll be on my channel. So that sounds good.
Yeah, 21st. So we'll
Okay.
be with you and Matt on that night. And
It'll be fun.
what are we talking about? I don't even know what we're talking about then.
We have so much we could go over. I will just I'll send an email to both of y'all and figure out what we want to talk. 50 things could happen between now and then, Pete. So
Yeah, that's
but
true.
it'll be a good lively
I was
discussion.
gonna say, dude, if you want me to, I can
That's
answer
true.
a couple, 4 or 5 if you want before we jet.
Well, that's up to you.
That, I was gonna say, Pete, I'm happy to if people we can do 5 or 6 questions if people have any that you'd like me to answer.
Okay.
I'm
Yeah.
we're okay to do that. If not, totally cool too. I just wanted to offer, just trying to serve if I can. I haven't looked over there, but if anybody has any that they would like to know before we jet, I am more than happy to answer anything I can. I feel bad there's so many and we're taking off in a minute, so if that's more than
He may
valid, it's
also
okay.
have some from other videos
Okay,
he's talking
cool.
about
Yeah,
too.
no worries then.
If
No
he
worries at
has
all.
any fitness ones.
Here's one that's not necessarily tied to the topic, but it's kind of close. From Squid the Hippo, if believers are single, do you think it's worth wanting or pursuing a relationship to be a wife with how close we are to the end? Ultimately, God's will be done. Praise Jesus. So if believers are single, do you think it's worth wanting or pursuing a relationship or to be a wife with how close we are to the end? So that's
I mean, you can answer in a second, but my direct thoughts are what we were taught growing up. If you have the desire for the opposite sex, you are meant to be married.
Come on, our pastor
And
taught us
if you're
that.
like, again, our business over the years has struggled based on certain things, but we're here to occupy. So
Come
I
on.
would say that if it's on your heart, you're supposed to either be married or you're supposed to get yourself ready for that marriage. And it's up to the Lord if He gets you beforehand. But absolutely, I'm a hopeless romantic at heart, though, so I will say that.
He is.
yeah.
Yeah, I would agree
Scotty
with that.
Z70 says, pursue a relationship. I didn't try back in 1988. Now I regret it. Yeah.
Yep.
So go ahead. I'm
Yeah.
sorry, Lauren. Go. I cut you
No,
off. Go
that
ahead.
was just gonna say I agree with what he said. Y'all, I mean, we are all hoping that the rapture is soon, but and we can look outside and see that it probably is, but we don't know. You know what I'm saying? So like, don't wish your life away and then become like 60 and wish you would have got married. That you would have just asked that girl out or asked that guy out. Like, take the risk. If you that was what Pastor Terry said. If you desire to be married. Like if you have that yearning, God put that in there for a reason. So
Desire literally translates to of the Father.
Yep.
So,
All right,
Somebody
Lance,
asked
this is
something
for
about
you.
okay.
This is from Aldo. He says, "What are your thoughts on cooking with oil versus fats, like seed oils, I imagine, or maybe olive oil? I'm not sure which oils."
we cook with
Yeah,
oil and butter.
we absolutely do.
Yeah.
But so seed oils are going to be more, let's use the word toxic. Seed oils are very inflammatory, but avocado oil, olive oil, I'm trying to think, there was one other one that we found that we liked as well. So it's like, do you have to avoid them? No, but if you're going to be making foods at home, man, it's not that much of a difference to switch over to avocado or olive oil, and it doesn't. I mean, we cook stuff in olive oil like our quesadillas, and it tastes so good. And here's the thing: every time that I go to a restaurant, and it's like my stomach is like warning beacon. It can tell as soon as there's either like MSG or some cheap oil, where I'm like
Sorry.
telling her, like giving her the look, like we got about 45 minutes, and if I don't find a bathroom, this is gonna be uncomfortable for everybody here. So so yeah, I would say like I mean, and ultimately like that's the thing. Does that take discipline for me to avoid bad oils? No, it takes me caring about not living in the restroom. So you know what I mean? It really comes down to like you don't sometimes it just goes, weigh it out. If you're willing to suffer the consequences of some of those things, be my guest.
Yeah.
But for me, I'm not. Now on fat loss, ultimately, and people don't like to hear this, but fat loss, it really is calories in, calories out. So if
Yes,
you
it
want to get
is.
all your calories from seed oils versus olive, it's not going to really cost you that much. You may feel a little bit worse, but you will still lose calorie for calorie the same amount of weight.
Yeah, and that's the thing people need to understand. Like, if you're in a deficit, you could technically eat
Nothing
Twinkies.
but Twinkies if you wanted to.
You could, and you would lose, you would lose. We say body fat because weight is that's a whole other topic. But should you do that? Should you eat calorie deficit of only Twinkies?
Would that be
No.
very biblical?
Right, there you go. Would that be gluttonous? But no, you shouldn't do that. But the point is that you can. So I want to put that into context so people
And
know.
we always talk about stewardship, guys. So like
Yes.
we steward
Yeah.
over our marriage, we steward over our business, and guys, you steward over your body. So the real question is like, are you, when you choose now again, that's why 20% of your calories should come from fun foods. It's going to keep you satiated and enjoy food. But outside of that, if you're doing more than 20%, especially regularly, like, is that really, if you like, think about the parable of the, sowing the talents, is this really the best use, the best stewardship of those, metaphorical talents? I'm going to probably say no, not necessarily. So,
Yep. That's a good question, though, Aldo.
very,
Appreciate
yeah.
that. Was there anything else?
This is from Annette. She said, "How many minutes does it take to do 5,000 steps?" I honestly have no idea. I guess it depends on
Depends
how
on the
fast you
speed.
walk.
Yeah, it depends on the speed. I've got some clients that like, and your leg stride and all that. What I can say is of every 1,000 steps is the equivalent of doing about 10 minutes of moderate steady state cardio when it comes to calories and time. So I would say that like if your pace is faster, if you do more of a, 120 to 130 BPM for your heart rate, then yeah, you're probably going to get, 1,000 steps done in 8 to 10 minutes. Whereas if you're going slow and all that, then it's going to take a while. So what I normally do is teach my clients to set 4 alarms if you start like only in the beginning. This is not to be crazy about stuff, but you'll just set 4 timers, 4 alarms that like if you wake up at 7, by 10 a.m., there should be an alarm going off if you're like me trying to get 10,000 steps. And that's going to show 2,500 steps. And if I'm at 1,500 steps and it's saying 2,500, I already know that I'm behind rather than what most people do, which is, oh, great, it's 10 o'clock at night and I'm only at 4,500 steps. I was trying to do 10. Great, I messed it up. Here we go. It's a lack of planning. It's a lack of margin. So in the beginning, like, how would you do it as a business? Well, I want to make sure I don't miss my bills. Okay, well, do you need to set a timer? Do you have something like, you know what I mean? This is stewardship. So just do things of whatever it takes to allow you to follow through until it becomes second nature. That is subconscious reprogramming.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we take our cats for walks, so
Yeah, you do all kinds of
that's
things.
what we do.
You don't have to be weird like us, but you can
But
do
you can
something.
be. You absolutely can be.
We welcome weird. Embrace the weird.
I like this here.
Someone said if I wore a step counter, I'd register dead. We got some comedians
I
over in the chat.
That was me today. I think I mostly lay. I did work out this morning, but after that, I went and just kind of laid in bed and was, messing with stuff.
That's okay, man. Sometimes you need that recovery.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. I mean, so you guys know this, those of you guys who follow my channel too. Right now, I'm serving at Texas Roadhouse. When I'm serving at Texas Roadhouse, no joke, y'all, I come home and have like 16 to 18,000 steps.
Right.
I am just running around that restaurant laps. But on days I don't work at Roadhouse, I go for walks outside. Like I have to because I'm just, working that job. It's just nonstop
And
running around.
one more thing too, while he's looking at this is one thing I wanted to make sure that I mentioned for you guys. This is something kind of free and bonus here. I teach that there are 4 health and fitness drivers. You've got nutrition and exercise or movement, nutrition and movement. Those are the workers, the guys that come in and do the work. Then we've got sleep and stress. Sleep and stress are your gatekeepers. If the gates are closed, the workers can't get in to do their job. So this is where if you guys aren't getting good sleep, if you are constantly stressed, you do want to work on those areas along with your exercise. But getting more steps will decrease your stress. Literally, your heart rate variability will go down. Increasing exercise and increasing your healthy food will help, again, reduce stress level, help you to improve your deep sleep, which is responsible for everything from the neck down recovery, and your REM sleep, which is for everything head or neck up on recovery. So if you care about optimizing, like, how do you feel? How do you think? cognitive function, you owe it to yourself to get at least enough steps that you're moving enough. Even if you don't do resistance training, you'll sleep better, your heart rate variability and your resting heart rate will go down. And as a side effect, your blood pressure, cholesterol, all these things will get better as well. So it's not just the aesthetic. Think about those things. If those things matter to you on an emotional level, attach yourself to them, because that becomes part of your why. Like, oh man, I know I feel like trash when I don't get enough steps. That's me. So it's like, okay, it's not just about getting steps so I'm leaner, it's getting steps so I sleep, getting steps so that I'm happy, getting steps so that dopamine, serotonin, and all these other ones from norepinephrine and oxytocin are stirred up in the right ways.
Mm-hmm.
It's a natural antidepressant if
Yep.
you use it enough.
Yeah, that's a good point. That it is an antidepressant. When you start exercising and your body starts producing all the dopamine and chemicals and things like
Yes.
that, I mean, it's gonna make you feel better. So if you're in a funk and you're just like,
Get up
if
and
it's
move.
overcast or it's been overcast and you just
Yes.
can't shake it or whatever, because I get like that too when it's really like the last few
Oh yeah.
weeks have been really cloudy here, stormy, and yeah, just getting outside, man, you will feel better. Just getting the fresh air,
Yes.
short walk,
Yep.
you're just gonna feel better about it.
You
Just
bet.
your mood will lighten. It's amazing.
For
So
sure. And
And
it's good to have at least 30 minutes of sunlight a day,
yes,
folks. Like
that'll
if you're
help
not
you.
doing that, get your butt outside. Get out. You need to.
Yeah, 100%. So all of those
last,
things though begin to make everything better for you though.
Yep.
yeah,
You said last one?
last last question here for you guys, or for us, from Andrew. Who are you most excited to meet in heaven outside of the core important ones? Mine is the thief on the cross. I would love to know the peace that he felt when Jesus said what he said. So, what
Mm.
are your thoughts?
I mean, mine is super cliched because I have to meet David and I have to meet Solomon. Those are my two Bible heroes. I look up to Paul, but I see more of myself in, or even Samson, the guys that mess up so hardcore, but they still are like pursuing of the Lord because their heart is there. I kind of relate to that, so that's who I want to
Yeah.
meet.
I don't know. I go
That's
back and forth on that. Like, I don't know. I've thought about like Moses, obviously, but then part of me wants to talk to like Ruth and Naomi and then Queen Esther. Like, I want to talk to them just about the lives that they led as women. And then I don't know. There's so many. Like, there are so, I'm sure all of us have some of the same ones. But I also would like to talk to Jacob and find out why he was so stubborn. You know, like
So you
I
can
think
figure out why you are.
why? Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. Maybe it'll help me answer some of my own questions. But I mean, the thing is like Lance and I talk about this often, and I won't go off on too much of a tangent. But y'all know how we all have the Holy Spirit dwelling on the inside of us, right? But y'all know that sometimes it's really hard to make a decision in your life, even though we're led by the Holy Spirit. And I envy sometimes what they had in the Old Testament where God just
Mm,
literally spoke to
yeah.
them. Like, what was that like? Because I'm sure they wonder, like, well, what's it like for you guys having the Holy Spirit and dwelling on the inside of you? We didn't have that. And so I would just have always wondered, like when you read the Old Testament, I'm like, why did these guys screw up so much? Like God literally spoke to them. He doesn't really do that
But
too
it was
often
few and far
anymore.
between, though.
Yes,
It
I
was like,
know, but they still had that, and I realized it was a lot of prophets and stuff. Not every person did God speak to, or maybe we just don't know about it because it's not written in Scripture. But they had, that sort of like sometimes. I mean, I've had so many conversations with friends and family, and obviously other people. Just I wish sometimes we would hear God audibly speak to us so that we would know, do we go left or right? And
yeah,
so that's
yeah,
really like I would like to know what that was like living in that time where He audibly spoke, or He was over them with a cloud, and they knew He
right.
was right there. You know?
Yep. I would love for the God to just tell me exactly what I need to do each day instead of
Amen
having
to
to
that,
like
man.
interpolate. Is that my feeling? Is that my voice in my head, or
Right.
is that
Oh
God
my
speaking to
gosh.
me? But
Yes.
I've just noticed that when God shuts a door, or I guess on these kind of bigger decisions that kind of alter your path, when he shuts the door, it's going to be pretty obvious because it's not going
Right.
to make any sense. Like, why would they not hire me? I'm the most qualified individual that applied for this position, but they hired somebody completely else, and it's like, yep. So that to me, that's like one of those divine door shut
Right.
moments. But I would like to meet the guy that stabbed Jesus with a spear, and the story
Oh,
goes that he had some kind of an eye infection or whatever. So he had an issue with his eye, a wound or something, and it was messed up. And his name is Longinus, I think his name is. And he went to stab it. It sprayed his eye, and it like healed it instantly. And that's when he knew this is the Son of God. And
Oh man,
so I don't know if that's true, but the
I would
story, the
sure like to
lore
see
Yeah,
that.
around
So
that
that's
is so
crazy.
that would be cool to
yeah,
find out.
Wow.
yeah.
Where did you read that at? Was that like written like church father history or what?
Yeah, I would love
No,
to
I
if you
think I
come
saw it
across
on
it.
Ninjas or Butterflies or one of those
Oh,
programs
we
like
love those
that.
guys.
Yeah, those guys
Those
are
guys
great.
are
Yeah,
great.
I haven't watched the whole video, but I caught part of it. But I've done a lot of studies peripheral like that. Even if you watch that movie, The Risen, the one with Ralph Fiennes in it, and he plays the centurion or he plays a Roman centurion that
Oh yeah,
converts
yep.
right there at that
Absolutely.
time of the crucifixion. So,
Mm,
anyways, a little bit of implied on the part of the filmmakers, but it makes for a good story. And
yeah, for
anyways, I,
sure.
I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, hey, that's it. I think I'm done tonight too. I'm gonna go to bed early because I got to get up super early. I'm gonna try and make John Holler's church in the morning. I don't know if I will. It's about
Have
3 hours
fun.
from here. I'm gonna give it a college try. So, anyways, God bless you guys. Thank you
Yeah.
for hanging out tonight.
Oh, we
See you on
loved it.
Monday. Yeah, Tom Cruise. Tom Hughes will
I'm
be
sorry.
on Monday. Wednesday, we have the Technocracy Roundtable, John Holler, Patrick Wood, Britt Gillette, Tom Hughes, and
Good.
Scott Townsend, I think. And then Saturday approaching midnight. And that following Monday, we'll have Vindog on. So I'll have everything set up for Vindog.
Vindog's so great. He's been in the chat tonight. We love you, Vindog. You're amazing.
I've been crafting some of the most difficult questions that I've ever thought of. I'm gonna have saved up for Vindog that night to
He'll answer
parse
them.
through some of. Yeah, yeah. I think he's gonna be ready for it.
He will.
So,
Well, thank you Pete, for having us on. We had a blast for
Cocoa
sure.
Bear,
yeah.
you're welcome.
Oh, yep, yep.
Thanks,
The
you.
chat's great.
A couple of them. Yeah. Thank you guys for having
Yeah, you
us
guys
and
are a great crew of
being awesome.
people, always.
Awesome. Well, thanks for coming on. And if you'll hang out real quick, I will
Yep.
You
end
bet.
the live. So thank you
All
guys.
right.
God bless you.
Bye, guys.